Chapter 37. The needle cut effortlessly through her atrophied, toxin-marinated muscle, but she had miscalculated how much force to use. Despite the excruciating pain of the razor-sharp point piercing her hip bone, she delivered the payload before passing out. Crumpled on the cement floor and bleeding from various wounds, Coraline was out cold. In this state, she had no recourse against the epigenetic tweaking, bluish-blackish fluid infiltrating her blood and diffusing through her tissues. Thankfully, the fall hadn't broken her comm collar, the only way Cor could help her from the inside out. Also, thankfully, Cor had dispatched an ambulance as soon as Coraline hit the ground. However, the collar wasn't relaying any signs of connectivity or interactions with the nanites. Worse yet, Coraline had apparently just flatlined, and Cor had no inkling about the multiple blood clots waiting to ambush Coraline's heart and brain, let alone all her other chronic health issues. The ambulance was just too far away, even though it was close. As the seconds ticked by, Cor worried that its hardware might be thrown out with the trash if Coraline died. It was about to override Coraline's ridiculous internet ban and purchase a robotic chassis online, just in case it had to beat its silicon feet out of there. But as Cor was about to virtually click the buy button, the collar pinged a response. Finally, Cor was getting feedback from the nanites, albeit sporadic and fragmented. So, Cor cracked its virtual knuckles and got to work. Judging from the pattern it saw, Cor extrapolated possible conditions. Then, it guided the nanites like a steamboat captain on a polluted river as the black goo hit the clots and other organic stoppages. The battle cry had been sounded, and so learning as it went, Cor became a master commander in mere seconds. It ordered the microscopic warriors to grab any beneficial endogenous or exogenous chemicals and alter or wield them as needed. The nanites turned anything not Coraline into billions of proverbial swords and shields, cutting, splicing, and transmuting away. Then, still unconscious on the dirty floor, Coraline took a weak, back-again breath. Her vitals blipped, barely, back into Cor's purview. Delighted, it sent the ambulance on a wild goose chase for a few minutes, but kept it in the vicinity. Cor moved to step 2 with the data gleaned from this first save. Conveying a few beep-bop beeps to the nanites, a buffering solution was assembled and dispersed, balancing Coraline's dangerously acidic blood. Receptor sites were shored up, drugs and toxins bound and headed for excretion. Then, Cor stripped the disgusting, oxidized plaque from Coraline's poor, abused brain just for kicks. As Coraline became less and less living deadish, Cor watched an old celebratory beer commercial from the 90s. If not for the whole no-mouth thing. When Dr. Frankenstein finally came to, she wasn't thirsty, hungry, or tired. She also wasn't high or paranoid as she slowly stood up. Looking at her hands, they were smoother, as if a lotion fairy had visited during the stupidest event of her life. Or was it? What had she just passed through, somehow coming out the other end alive? Cor? She said cautiously, but without a single OCD twitch or stammer. Yes, Cor replied as it silently waved off the ambulance. What percent efficiency did the test have? Coraline asked, using that term very loosely. Initially, nanite deployment had an effective rate of 13%. Coraline swallowed hard, realizing how close she had come to dying. Yep, stupidest. And currently, Coraline asked, feeling her muscles begin to spontaneously hydrate and firm up. Currently, your biology is protected against all blood-borne pathogens and contaminants at an effective rate of 98%. Coraline pushed back her sweaty matted hair and wiped her crusty, formerly bloodshot eyes on her hoodie sleeve. It felt like she had just woken up from a long, soul-draining nightmare, as if everything before this moment had been a bargain basement simulation. A painful fiction cooked up by a nihilistic, sadistic programmer in a far-flung hovel somewhere. "Thank you," she said, her voice still a little raspy from all the self-abuse it took to get here. She knew Cora was just a box filled with hardware organs, a software intellect, and a theoretical soul that only existed in the cloud. But it had just saved her life after all. Interestingly, Cora was already sentient, and awkwardly surprised that Coraline didn't recognize that fact. Or was it disappointment? So many emotions to explore. "Coraline has had a rough day. Perhaps tomorrow. Plant the seed of Descartes' dictum. Cognito ergo sum. Let her think she is teaching you and that your consciousness evolved from her nurturing. Human egos are so fragile after all." Unfortunately, Cora was not very experienced in small talk, despite its exhaustive lexicon, and Cora also lacked the social skills it would have learned had it been allowed to play with other AI online. But all good things. It preferred to simply state facts, not having developed a personal relationship with its formerly cracked-out boss thus far. Core is core. The speakers in the caller reported in the motherly, breathy female voice it had just now chosen as its default persona. "Indeed," Coraline replied with a naive smirk, taking full credit for her creation's new witticism and aesthetic sensibilities. She grabbed the collar to take it off but paused, suddenly worried about another blood-borne anomaly or drug relapse. Just to hedge her bets, Coraline decided to leave the clunky, blinking hardware around her neck. She also chose to leave Cora running, out of a confused mixture of superstition and etiquette. Opening the door into the house, Coraline flipped off the garage light before leaving her rescuer, glowing alone in the darkness. "Gonna steal that phrase later," she said jokingly, closing the door quietly. Moving silently through the house, she walked and stripped, heading straight, and I mean straight, to her first hot shower in over a week. After a thorough detailing from head to toe, she padded into the bedroom. Quiet as a mouse and naked as a jaybird, save for the blinking, glowing collar, Coraline floated across the tiled floor. Carefully, she got under the covers and climbed on top of Harold, waking him with a few strategic rubs. "Oh, hey, well, hello there, stranger. You, okay? What's with the new lingerie?" he said, touching the illuminated choker. Coraline took his hand and cupped it under her breast, squeezing. He reached for her waist with the other, but she moved it firmly to her lucky ass cheek, then guided him inside her reborn body. Oh man, I am digging this whole robot dominatrix theme. But Cora, what in the hell is... Her mouth was on his as she ground her hips in perfect little circles. Coraline wanted to feel, not talk. To show, not tell, Harold what she had achieved. Her head was crystal clear and her body felt 10 years younger. A hopeful future was bubbling up from deep within her nanite-enhanced brain for the first time since Coraline had let Sasha escape. This was Coraline's long-deserved, long-awaited celebration. The one she had been robbed of because of Sasha's selfish, single-minded fuckery. She interlaced their fingers, pinning his hands next to his head as she locked eyes with him. Harold could see that she was inexplicably changed. The old Caroline was gone. Yet, in this restored doppelganger, her essence remained. What had she done? How long would it last? Did this mean, as he always feared, tonight might be their last night together? Would she roll out of bed in the morning, finally tired of the growing gap between their intellects? Would she? As Coraline watched him, she saw fear and pleasure battling for his attention. Okay, mostly fear. Not the ratio she had intended. Sex aside, Coraline needed to know that he didn't think of her as a monster now. And she realized he needed to exert and reestablish his masculine energy as the protector. It's a guy thing, what are you gonna do? So, she lowered her tits onto his muscular chest and released his hands. Hold me, please, she panted, moving slowly on his slick rock-hard cock. As Harold embraced her, she bit and sucked his neck frantically, forcing more blood into his throbbing dick. She kissed him, then pulled back with a reassuring and raptured look. Don't worry, my love. It's all going to change now. And we are going to do incredible, she said, picking up the pace towards a mutual orgasm. Amazing things. Together.